प्रेमामृताम्बनिधि तत्त्वातो नमसे समण्डलपति शनि.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. And all glories to the devotees of the Prabhupada Disciples Association and the Hare Krishna Society. Listening to that chanting was very inspiring, I must say. And if you go to Prabhupada Vani, the website, you'll see there they've got these old vintage, they call them vintage recordings. Interesting. They use the word vintage because really these recordings were done in the early years of Prabhupada's mission. And if you look at them, there's quite a few of them, Prabhus. And, sometimes it's a little hard for us to connect the dots in terms of perspective on Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada introducing this movement that he did in 1965. He started. And right now we're at 66 March. Now, if you go to the Vani site, you'll see, Prabhu, that there, Dasa Avatar, if you see the site, Haribo, it has all kinds of lectures from March 1966. Oh, and by the way, I've got so much to recommend. The class I think that you should listen to, Dasa Avatar, is October 24th, 1972, in Vrindavan, India. October 24th, 1972, Vrindavan, India. That particular class is one of the most comprehensive explanations of the absolute truth in 45 minutes. If you can just memorize that one class, that pretty much answers everything you need to know about Krishna consciousness. Just one class. And it's said that Prabhupada, as an acharya, representative of Lord Chaitanya and Bhaktisiddhanta, everything that he speaks is Shastra. Everything. Not just some kind of babble from somebody that thinks they know. Like some of our God brothers. They thought Prabhupada was incoherent. I just put up a post. One of these ISKCON gurus, he's criticizing Prabhupada's speech. He's saying, this is not acceptable in this day and age. He's a woke person anyway. Like we have woke people in the society that we're in. This is completely irreligious. The whole thing is just garbage. But this is going on because things have been adulterated. So if you listen to this lecture, October 24th, 1972, Vrindavan, India. Just listen to it. And also go into Prabhupada Vani, the site, and look for these heritage recordings, these vintage recordings, and you'll notice there's hardly any instruments. Prabhupada will be playing the cartel. There's the one famous chant you showed in Nandana Prabhu. They had no mridanga. It chants the evening melody, Hare Krishna. We play it at the end. And you hear Prabhupada playing the bongo. Now, how early was that? How early was that, brother? Das Avatar. What do you think? That is 66. You're transported back in time. You listen to these recordings, the Brahma Samhita, the Cheto Darpana, the prayers by Lord Chaitanya, these prayers that he gave, Prabhupada's chanting them for us, the Sikshastikam prayers. There's only him singing, playing the harmonium. How pure do you want this? This movement, he was only with us for 11 years. It's interesting to note, Yashoda. I had a post on our Prabhupada Disciples Association. And by the way, I wanted to mention to everybody, we have over 14,600 members in that group page. Just one post alone I put up of Lord Chaitanya, the Panchatattva, has 6,800 views and climbing. One post. Someone was criticizing, oh, well, nobody knows you people. Well, relative to the internet, not very many people do, but we're not completely out of sight. We have over 100,000 views of our quotes and posts every month that come on Prabhupada Disciples. And like I said, one is already heading for 7,000 views. So there's quite a bit of reaction from a small group of people in the ocean of the internet. But just quickly, I had a phone call. Some guy put up a post on Prabhupada. He wants to get initiated by Prabhupada. Oh, really? So inquisitive me, I put a post up. I put it in the chat. I said, why don't you call me and we can talk? Because we're interested in people getting initiated, of course, in the Ritvik system. Just like we did when we were temple presidents. We wanted people to get initiated, but you have to qualify them. So I thought I'd speak to him, see where he was at. So we had a talk. Now listen to this, Prabhus. Listen to this story. This is extraordinary. I go, well, how do you spend your time during the day? He goes, well, I chant my rounds. I said, oh, really? He said, oh, I get up, I start chanting. And then I chant on my way to work. Oh, okay, fine. And I said, what kind of work do you do? He goes, I work in a steel company. Oh, okay, we build this and that. I used to be at a Radhanath house, Bhakti house. I gave that up because he told me he didn't want to be a part of that because he didn't find any attraction with this Radhanath and their reading of the book Journey Home. Found it was just not his cup of tea. I said, so then what do you do at work? He goes, well, I wear my headphones. I listen to Prabhupada lectures for 8 hours. 8 hours at work all day. I go, really? And I said, then what do you do? He goes, well, after that, I get in the car. I put Prabhupada on. If I got rounds to chant, I finish them. Oh, really? When I get home, he goes, I cook prasadam for my deities and I eat it. Oh, really? Yeah. And then he goes, then I put on a Prabhupada tape and I listen to that and I go to sleep. So I said, it sounds like you're doing this all day. He goes, yeah, all day, from morning to night, every day. I just love to hear Prabhupada speak. And I'm reading all the books. I just got my shipment, he goes, of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the original edition. Just got notified today. I got it in the mail. They'll be sending it to me tomorrow. And I'm going to start reading that. I've read all the books. But my biggest attraction is to hear Prabhupada constantly throughout the day and night. And he goes, ever since I've started to do this, my life is going perfectly. I go, really, huh? He says, yeah, I got no trouble at my house. My bills are all paid. I live in a simple apartment. I've got my books. I got my tapes. I use my phone. and I'm absorbed in Prabhupada day and night. It's just wonderful, Vishwa. I go, well, so we sent them their information. We invited them to attend our classes or to go to YouTube, Hare Krishna Society, and listen to the classes. He goes, I'm not in a hurry to get initiated. I said, that's all right. I said, that's all right. There's no rush. You're already initiated, really. Initiation isn't about the superficial dress of a devotee. It is not about a title or position. It's about your internal commitment to Prabhupada's mission and the process of bhakti yoga. That's initiation. And when Prabhupada sees that in you, then he embraces you as his pure disciple. And this young man, well, he's not young, he's 37, but younger than myself and the rest of us old fuddy-duddies, is a wonderful example of a person that's understanding this philosophy by reading Prabhupada's books, hearing his tapes, and making a practice, going through the ISKCON circus, getting out of it, and now he's going to join us, hopefully in the coming weeks, either online or in the Zoom calls, or he'll be visiting our YouTube channel. I told him, include one of our classes every day in your regular program. Listen to Prabhupada chanting, listen to Prabhupada's lectures, listen to Prabhupada's japa, and includes one of the classes from the bona fide disciples, of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, which is our membership here at the Hare Krishna Society and Prabhupada Disciples Association. We'll move ahead right away. Sorry about that. And we'll go to the diaries of Tuesday, March 8th, 1966. And here we're seeing Prabhupada move forward with his work. Thank you, Venkat. But Tuesday, March 8th, sunrise 6:26, sunset 5:56 p.m., moonrise 8:12 p.m. So Prabhupada is keeping track of the movement of the sun and the moon. One letter received from Atma Singh, Jara Singh of 345 Kalvadevi Road, Bombay. He's not willing to hand over Seva Puja to Goshain. This may refer to the worship in the temple of Radha Damodar in Vrindavan, India. Nor is he willing to build a temple in New York. Savings account with First National City Bank opened, and he put in $50. Larry Bogart contacted. He said tomorrow at 11 to call. Robert brought some fruits and doll for me. Oh, Robert, yes. That's this new friend of Prabhupada's. Wednesday, the 9th of March, New York, sunrise 6:25, sunset 5:57, moonrise 9:29, Tritiya. Today I went to see the Nepalese ambassador at 300 Envy Tower, East 46th Street. He was not present, so I left with his secretary one note. Then I saw Mr. Larry Bogart. He has given back the books for examination of Mr. Lachlan of the New Direction Publishers at 333 6th Avenue. I shall see him tomorrow morning. Then I went to Paragon. They have received 35 sets. That was from Butler, Pennsylvania, from Sally Argawal. It is accounted that up to date, 2 sets yesterday. I've taken back 15 sets. So out of the 35 sets, these 16 sets may be made up. Thus, 20 sets remain with them. I lost my cap on the bus. Expenditure bus fare. I think it was 60 cents. Okay, so he might have taken, I think it was 15 cents a ride, so he did 4 rides. Meeting held from 7 to 9:30 p.m. So you can hear that class, everyone. If you go to Prabhupada Vani, listen to the class. You'll become inspired. 8 members attended the lecture on Gita and Kirtan, and that was at his office. in the building where Mishra was, or it was upstairs, and he moved down to 701. He had no bathroom and no kitchen facilities. Prabhupada was living in a room, no facility. He had to go to other places to take care of himself. Income by contribution and books was $13. Thursday, March 10th, 1966. Thursday, sunrise 6:23, sunset 5:59, moonrise 10:46, Chaturi. One letter received from Vrindavan, India. One letter received from Library Bureau, local. One set of books left with New Direction Book, 333 6th Avenue, and the matter informed to Mr. Larry Bogart. Kirtan performed at studio. There was some inconvenience. Mrs. LeBlanc did not come today. Yolander came, 2 other ladies, and another gentleman came. So this was later for his class. And expenditure in bus fare was 30 cents, and there was no income. And on Friday, March 11th, 66, sunrise 6:21, sunset 6, moonrise Panchami. Doctor asked me to take some food when I go to Monroe tomorrow. So he's going to go up to the ashram in the country and chant for them. I went to see the Paragon Book Gallery. There was some mistake. Later on, the clerk showed me one set on the lower shelf. This makes the whole thing correct. 9 set up, 1 set down, total 10 sets. Add 35 new sets, total 45 sets. Transfer to old stock, 25 sets, balance 20 sets, taken today 4 sets, balance 16 sets, new stock. Now that's the 3 volumes of the Bhagavatam, like these ones here, excuse me. I'll get this. I'll just show you. I have a copy of the reprints. Hopefully we can do these in the future. These are the ones here. And they're the unedited versions, and this is a duplicate copy. I used to have a set, but Mr. made a mistake, no longer has them. Somebody does. Just like someone stole all my Prabhupada letters, all of them, out of my files in the Toronto Temple. They stole them all. Prabhupada said to lose means to lend or not lock up. If you don't lock something up, you'll lose it. People will steal it. Prabhupada was very diligent with his possessions. These 16 sets now, I shall take a time when I need them next. Expenditure bus fare, 30 cents. Post 5 cents, book, $1. Income contribution, $2. One letter to Tirtha Maharaj in reply to his letter, 22-266. One letter to Mrs. Sally Agarwal in reply to her letter 6/3/66. So that's December or 6. 6. What is third month? Excuse me. March 6, 66. Okay, so we'll end there, and we'll keep reading on this wonderful diary explanation of Prabhupada's in his own handwriting, revealing how he acted as a wonderful leader of the Sankirtan movement, setting the perfect example for all of us. Let's move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, and then we'll have the class from Twain Harte, California, with Yashodanandana Prabhu, who's up there freezing in the mountains of California. Haribol. Just kidding.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Muspa Paramahansa Paribhrajagacharya Sattvaresvara Samadhati Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Bhagavad Ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnavin Ki Jai Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktamani Ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Mok Gopinath Sam Khund Radha Khund Giri Godhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तबिंद की जाए और ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमर और ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमर थैंक यू वेरी मच
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. From Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. As we do every week, we will read a few verses from the Adilila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 1, text 18 to 22. This deals with the exalted position of this great literature and the benefit of hearing this great transcendental description of the activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Text number 19. 18 Thakur Gaudiya ke Karya Chenayat Masat 18 Ero Charana Vandana Tire Morenat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text number 20. Grantera Rambi Kari Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smaranam. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text 21. Tinera smaraneoi vigna vinashana anayaseoi nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text number 22. Simangala charanoi trivida prakar vastu nirdesh ashiravada namaskaram. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Again, as we do every week, we will read one or two sections of statements by Srila Prabhupada explaining the very unique position of this great literature, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is from a lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam on October 19th, 1974 in Mayapur, India. October 19, 1974 in Mayapur, India. This is pertained to Srimad Bhagavatam 1.839. Srila Prabhupada. So Vaishnava, just like Chaitanya Charitamrita, Karacha, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he says that Jagai Madai Oite Muise Papishta, Purisher Kitoese Muite Silagishta, from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 5:205. Chaitanya Charitamrita orders such an exalted person, practically the most exalted personality in Gaudiya Vaishnava. His Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is no comparison. It is postgraduate study. So the author of the book is presenting himself that my position is lower than the worm in the stool. Purisher kitoite muise lagishta, and Jagai Madai oite muise papishta. Jagai Madai was the example of papi, sinful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Narottam Das Thakur sings, Papi tapi jata chilo, Hari name uddarilo, Brajendra Nandana jay, Sachi shuto oilase, Balaram oilonitai. Two brothers who were formerly the sons of Vrajendra Nandana, the Maharaj Nanda, his son Krishna, and Balarama. So Balarama has become Nitai, and Krishna has become Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Why have they become Nitai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Now, Papi Tapi Jata Chilu, just to deliver all the sinful persons. So did he? Did they actually do so? Yes. Then, where is the evidence? Tari Shakshi, Jagai, and Madai. Here is the evidence. They delivered Jagai and Madai. As we know, Jagai and Madai had been born in two Brahmin families. They had very good births, but they spoil everything with all kinds of sinful activities, drinking, meat eating, hunting women, all kinds of nonsense. And they were delivered by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So without further ado, we will read a few verses from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Very interesting story of this devotee who is doing his sadhana while at work, while on his way to work, while on the way back from work. This was very, very inspiring, and it shows that anybody, everyone on this call, anybody can practice Krishna consciousness, can chant Hare Krishna, can hear Prabhupada singing, can hear Prabhupada chanting kirtan anywhere, anytime. We know we have all these modern facilities, these cell phones, these computers, so many facilities. All we have to do is develop a taste for hearing. So let us hear from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I believe this week we are on text number 163, Adi Lila, chapter 4. All synonyms, translations, and purport by His Divine Grace is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text number 163. Premeva Goparamanam Kama iti agamat pratam Ityuddhavadayo pietam vanchanti bhagavat priyaha. Prema, love. Eva, only. Goparamanam, of the women of Raja. Kamaha, lust. Iti, as. Agamat, went to. Pratam, fame. Iti, thus. Uddhava adayaha, headed by Sri Uddhava. Api, even. Etam, this. Vanchanti, desire. Bhagavat Priya, dear devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The pure love of the gopis has become celebrated by the name lust. The dear devotees of the Lord, headed by Sri Uddhava, desire to taste that love. Purport. This is a verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:2 285 286. Text 164. Kama prema donhakara vibhinna lakshana loha are mayoeche swarupe vilakshana. Kama, lust. Prema, love. Donhakara, of the two. Vibhinna, separate. Lakshana, symptoms. Loha, iron. Ara, end. Hema, gold. Yaiche, just as. Swarupe, in nature. Vilakshana, different. Translation. Lust and love have different characteristics, just as iron and gold have different natures. Purport. One should try to discriminate between sexual love and pure love, so they belong to different categories with a gulf of difference between them. They are as different from one another as iron is from gold. Text 165. Atmendriya pritivancha taribalikam Krishnendriya priti itcha dhare premanam atma indriya priti, for the pleasure of one's own senses, vancha, desires, tare, to that, bali, I say, kama, lust, Krishna indriya priti, for the pleasure of Lord Krishna's senses, itcha, desire, dhare, holds, prema, love, nama, the name. Translation: the desire to gratify one's own senses is kama, lust, but the desire to please the senses of Lord Krishna is prema, love. Purport: the revealed scriptures describe pure love as follows: sarvata dvamsarahitam satyapi dvamsakarani yad bhavam bandhanam yunoho saprema parikirtitaha. If there is ample reason for the dissolution of a conjugal relationship, and yet such a dissolution does not take place, such a relationship of intimate love is called pure. The predominated gopis were bound to Krishna in such pure love. For them, there was no question of sexual love based on sense gratification. Their only engagement in life was to see Krishna happy in all respects, regardless of their own personal interest. They dedicated their souls only for the satisfaction of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. There was not the slightest tinge of sexual love between the gopis and Krishna. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita asserts with authority that sexual love is a matter of personal sense enjoyment. All the regulative principles in the Vedas pertaining to desires for popularity, fatherhood, wealth, and so on are different phases of sense gratification. Acts of sense gratification may be performed under the cover of public welfare, nationalism, religion, altruism, ethical codes, biblical codes, health directives, fruitive action, bashfulness, tolerance, personal comfort, liberation from material bondage, progress, family affection, or fear of social ostracism or legal punishment. But all these categories are different subdivisions of one substance, sense gratification. All such good acts are performed basically for one's own sense gratification, for no one can sacrifice his personal interest while discharging these much advertised moral and religious principles. But above all, this is a transcendental stage in which one feels himself to be only an eternal servitor of Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead. All acts performed in this sense of servitude are called pure love of God because they are performed for the absolute sense gratification of Sri Krishna. However, any act performed for the purpose of enjoying its fruits or results is an act of sense gratification. Such actions are visible sometimes in gross and sometimes in subtle forms. Om ajnanaatimirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shwanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta namine prasannaya prashantaya tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadhyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha Adadhanasrinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimadrupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatusmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshakodityam Tat Preshta Shat Karomi Shvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It's very interesting to note that one of the very important aspects of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, of Vaishnava philosophy in general, is that the devotee, whether the neophyte devotee, the middle-class devotee, or the first-class devotee, or the completely liberated soul, are always dependent upon the mercy of Lord Krishna. We see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paryupasate tesham nitya biyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. For those who are constantly devoted to me, I protect what they have. I protect my devotees in all circumstances. We see in the Mahabharata, everyone is familiar with the story of Draupadi, called Draupadi Haran. In the assembly of the Kurus and the Pandavas, there was a pledge. There was a game of dice, and there was a pledge because the Pandavas had lost all their weapons and everything in their possession. And they waged their wife, Draupadi. So after they waged the wife and it was lost, she was lost in the game of dice. There was a very interesting incident that they tried to disrobe Draupadi. Dushasana and Karna tried to disrobe Draupadi in the assembly of everyone there. And Krishna was not very happy that his dear devotee was being insulted and disrobed in this way. And there's a very interesting statement in the Hari Bhakti Vilas of Sanatana Goswami. There's a nice prayer that is supposed to be recited every day at the end of doing worship to Krishna. It says, Pratignatava Govinda Name Bhakta Pranashyati Iti Samsmritya Pranam Sandaramyaham. This is a statement by Draupadi herself, that I maintain my life simply by remembering your statement, my dear Govinda. Name Bhakta Pranashyati, that you have promised that your devotee will never perish. Pratigna means this is your sworn oath. This is your promise. Pratignatava Govinda, my dear Govinda, this is your promise, that you've promised to always protect you, the devotees. Iti samsmritya samsam, simply by remembering this again and again, pranam sandarayami, I maintain my life. And of course, although they tried to disrobe her, they could not. Krishna provided unlimited amounts of sari, so they became discouraged. And this is one of the major reasons why the Kurus were vanquished in the Mahabharata war, for having insulted this very, very advanced and devotee, Draupadi. But the point is that a devotee is always dependent upon Krishna. This is important, just like we have discussed several times how Srila Prabhupada, numerous times when he was asked whether or not you have seen God, Prabhupada one time replied, yes, but unless you know who is God, how will you know? And Prabhupada went on explaining how in the Brahma Samhita, there is description of the process to understand God. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santasadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti. That great devotees are constantly in touch with Krishna, santasadeva. What is that? Premanjana bhakti, by devotion. Just like the ladies sometimes, they put some ointment under their eyes to try to make their eyes look more beautiful. It's called anjana. But the ornament of the devotees is called prema anjana. It is an ointment, but it is not cosmetic. It is called the prema, the development of affection and love for Krishna by serving the bona fide acharya, the authorized acharya. Now this is important. In another verse of the Brahma Samhita, it is also described that it is very difficult to understand Krishna by the study of the Veda. Vedeshu durlabam, adurlabam atma bhakto. Vedeshu durlabam means difficult. But then the other word is used, adurlabam. It is not difficult for those who are confidential devotees, atma bhakto. For those who have developed this devotion, again, following under the authority and guidance of the bona fide acharya, like Srila Prabhupada. For those, then it is possible to see. This is, we have all heard in the Chaitanya Charitamrita the story of Sakshi Gopal. How one Brahmin had made a promise all the way in Vrindavan. He had made a promise, and the other person was very doubtful whether Krishna would fulfill the promise. So they went all the way from Vrindavan, all the way to Orissa, and Krishna came there. Krishna came as the witness. Sakshi means witness. It is the witness to the promise of the Brahmana devotee. So Krishna is very merciful. He protects the devotees. Just recently, somebody sent me a story of Srila Prabhupada that he had heard that Mr. Nair was a character in Bombay who had sold land to Srila Prabhupada and taken money for a deposit. But he had done this to several other people in the past, taking their money, taking their deposit, and not really completing the land, not closing the transaction. So Prabhupada heard, because he had this individual had given Prabhupada a lot of difficulty. One time we were in Vrindavan with Guru Kripa Swami and myself, sitting in Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada was relating the story of how he had heard that Mr. Nair was dead. And Prabhupada was smiling, and he said, I was praying to Lord Narasimha to kill this person. And we were a little shocked. Prabhupada said, ordinarily we don't pray to Lord Nrsimhadev to kill someone. That is not the standard. But in this case, because of this person who was trying to cheat Krishna, I was praying to Lord Nrsimhadev. And Krishna answered. So Prabhupada was very, very determined to get the land for the satisfaction of Krishna. And there was so many disturbances there. The municipal corporation and some envious temple came in to try to destroy the temple, so many things. But in every instance, Krishna protected. Krishna protects the devotees. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, At 18th chapter, Krishna promises, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papayidyo, that I will protect you. I will take care of all your problems, all your sinful activities and their reaction. Krishna says, Ma sucha, don't worry. Do not worry. And this is the given in the life of so many exalted devotees, so many saintly devotees who dedicated their lives for the service of Krishna. They exemplified how to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is very important. I'm going to read something, maybe Venkat can try to find it. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 22, Text 19. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 22, Text 19. This is in relationship with the story of Kardamuni and his wife. At the end, it is described, Kardamuni explains before him that he would not associate with the girl Devahuti for the whole duration of his life. He would simply associate with her until she had a child. In other words, sex life should be utilized only to produce a nice child, not for any other purpose. Human life is especially meant for complete devotion to the service of the Lord. That is the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. After fulfilling his responsibility to produce a nice child, one should take sannyas and engage in the perfectional Paramahamsa stage. Paramahamsa refers to the most highly elevated perfectional stage of life. There are 4 stages within sannyas life, and Paramahamsa is the highest order. The Srimad Bhagavatam is called the Paramahamsa Samhita, the treatise for the highest class of human beings. The Paramahamsa is free from envy. In other stages, even in the householder stage of life, there is competition and envy. But since the activities of the human being in the Paramahamsa stage are completely engaged in Krishna consciousness or devotional service, there is no scope for envy. In the same order as Kardamuni, about 100 years ago, Thakur Bhaktivinoda also wanted to beget a child who could preach the philosophy and teachings of Lord Chaitanya to the fullest extent. By his prayers to the Lord, he had as his child Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja, who at the present moment is preaching the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya throughout the world, the entire world, through his bona fide disciples. Again, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 22, 19. Thank you, Venkat Prabhu, for putting this on the screen. The point being here, if you look at the last sentence in this purport, Prabhupada is explaining who at the present moment, now this purport of Srimad Bhagavatam was being written on or about 1972, 1973. And Prabhupada is explaining at the present moment is preaching the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya throughout the entire world through his bona fide disciples. Prabhupada is indirectly referring to himself. But the point is, Prabhupada never thought of his guru as being dead and gone. This is a nonsense, poisonous, non-authorized idea that has been propagated by envious, self-ambitious people. Devotees should notice this purport and study this very carefully. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur departed in late December of 1936. This purport was written by Srila Prabhupada on or about 1972. How is Bhaktisiddhanta preaching the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya throughout the entire world in 1972? because Srila Prabhupada never thought of his guru as dead and gone, unless some of the blockheads, self-appointed acharyas, who claim that Prabhupada is not available, Prabhupada is not physically here. In 1975 in Atlanta, Georgia, on the appearance day of His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada stated, "It is not that he is dead and gone. That is not spiritual understanding." And this is confirmed again by this purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 22, Text 19. Any person who is not polluted by personal ambition can understand this. The disease is personal ambition that destroys, that rots the intelligence and the ability to properly understand the teachings of the Acharya. Very important point. And to whom it may concern. Thank you everyone for listening. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Thank you very much. We'll carry on, of course. We're going to bring our various God brothers from around the world, Jonas Priya in Hawaii, Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas. Shama Sundar, we'll call on him in Australia, the Samosa King. And I'm just going to make a few comments further, Yashodanandana Prabhu, that although it is apparent that it says here in the purport, excuse me, it says in 162, although it is apparently like mundane sex life, this was in text 162 of the Chaitanya Charitamrita class today, one should not confuse it with mundane sexual love, for it is pure and unadulterated love. So this is a confusion that exists in this world, the discussion of the difference between lust and love. And most people think that love in human life is based on sexual exchange between a man and a woman. This, however, is basically an animal instinct. Yes, there is a sexual urge for procreation, and that can be discussed later about how those mechanisms work. But this is for reproduction, for creation. But this is not love, but lust. That should be very clear to understand in our philosophy. Now, in India, a lot of Hindus there think that Krishna was simply a playboy, and that men there should try to imitate Krishna and try to enjoy so many women. Just like Krishna had 16,108 palaces and 16,108 wives. But we have to understand one simple principle, that Krishna has inconceivable power. Just like Prabhupada was mentioning, Yashodanandana Prabhu, about him lifting Govardhan Hill. Now, he was just a young boy, and he could defy the laws of gravity and lift the hill, even though he was just with one finger. Now, someone could say, is that a fairy tale? Is that a fantasy? No, this is the inconceivable power of God. And only the devotee of the Lord can understand this. The non-devotee cannot. So, similarly, Krishna is capable of being the wife or the husband of all living entities. Krishna is the supreme lover. There's nothing out of his scope that he cannot do. Nothing that we can understand with a mundane mind or mundane perspective. Like the frog in the well, thinking, oh, Krishna's this way, the ocean is this way or that way, from their conception of the being in the well. They cannot understand it. It's inconceivable. God is inconceivable, and his relationships with his devotees are inconceivable, but the living entity is so foolish. And Prabhupada explains that the individual is a sample of God. Therefore, the characteristics of the Supreme Lord are also in the living entity, but they're manifest in the human form of life in a perverted reflection of reality. They're there. We can see men are that way. Men are thinking, oh, I can enjoy multiple women. This is going on in society, especially with indoctrination from Hollywood. This Hollywood consciousness that exists, this manufactured so-called ecstasy of the material world is a fraud. It's a fraud. It is not real. For example, I was just talking to a friend of mine. This isn't a good thing, by the way. I'm sorry to say this. But almost every marriage that I know of has ended in divorce. Not 50%, almost all of them. This is unfortunate. But a lot of times, the relationship is not based on transcendental love of God. It's based on transcendental lust of each other. And that is a very sort of meaningless way to enter into relationship. And people live and learn through that, how things fall apart, let's say. But if everyone is associating with others, men and women, on the basis of Krishna consciousness, then there is a possibility of success. But this Western world, especially this Western world, Yashoda. For example, I told this the other day, or at a previous class, I was raised in a Catholic school system. So I went here in Hamilton, I went to all the Catholic schools. I went to St. Peter and Paul, Sacred Heart, Blessed Sacrament, St. Pat's, like that. I was shuffled around for many years to different schools. And I remember in grade 8, my mother got me dressed up. I had to wear a shirt and tie. I got to go to my first dance. You know, you go to this CYO dance. You're all excited. Oh my God. And what are you doing? The boys sit on one side, the girls sit on the other side, and everybody's afraid to ask each other to dance. But here you are being indoctrinated. Oh, got to have a girlfriend, got to have a boyfriend. And like that, this type of indoctrination goes on. And people have no idea what the purpose of life is, which is far beyond these kinds of mundane relationships. Then it's high school, it gets worse. University, it gets even more degraded. And on you march into life with no training. That's why Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada wanted the youth, the children, to be trained from early years so that they could guard themselves against the misunderstanding that human life was based on sense gratification and not on self-realization, which is the real purpose, based on sense gratification. And this indoctrination is very deep and it's very difficult to overcome. So this process of devotional service is to raise us up out of the animal training that we had. This was what Prabhupada did when he came. Yashoda, he introduced those 4 regulated principles. No intoxication, no meat eating, no illicit sex life, and no gambling. Nowadays, gambling is out of control completely. At the Super Bowl this year, the people were more interested in gambling than watching the game. They invested $8 billion. $8 billion in gambling at the game. That's what the focus was. Oh, I'm going to win some money. I'm going to have sex. I'm going to have a big house. I'm going to have a fancy car. And I'm going to live my life maybe for 60 or 70 years. This is the illusion. This life is very short. It's an opportunity for us to get out of this entanglement of material existence, which is based on sense gratification and false ego. There's so much going on like that. And this is very unfortunate. Prabhupada came to deliver us out of this conditioned state through the process of bhakti yoga. And I was just mentioning, I was speaking to this young man earlier before the class, and he was telling me since he's following the regulative principles, since he's constantly listening to Prabhupada on his phone and chanting the holy name and offering his food and following the 4 regulative principles, he feels completely liberated in this life. Can you imagine? Even in this lifetime, Prabhupada said you can become Krishna conscious. How long does it take? 1 second. And when I heard him speak to me, I said, there's nothing I can say to you except keep going. Do not stop. You're on the right path. Yashodanandana Prabhu, please.
Very good points that are being raised. Very good points. One thing is I want to save most of the time for the rest of the program so people can make comments and questions. So I've already spoken too much already, and we have many very good speakers that can come up. So let them speak and move
Okay,
forward.
so Jonas Priya in Hawaii, maybe you could comment either. Whatever you want to say, Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Lord Nityananda.
Haribol, Jai,
I
Gaur
think today is
Nitai.
Nityananda's appearance day.
I think it's the 22nd.
Tomorrow? Oh, we're celebrating it here.
Okay,
Anyhow,
well,
We're talking about the Mayapur calendar tomorrow. Today is the Western calendar.
yeah.
all right. Well, every day is Lord Nityananda's day, and Chaitanya's and Prabhupada's and Krishna.
Minka
Right.
put up the 22nd too. And that's all right. You're right. That's the point. Every
So
day is a celebration for us. Go ahead.
it's amazing that we're coming out of a society of cats and dogs, and only through the mercy, through divine intervention could one break that cycle. And that is exactly what Prabhupada is offering. It's divine intervention, but we have to realize that I'm a sick person and I need to take this medicine. Not only take this medicine, but be very persistent and regulated in taking the medicine. And then if we start doing this, then we start seeing the result. The result is that we become happy. Our life becomes easy. Why? Because this is our transcendental state. Our transcendental state is not to chase after some illusion or some material gain. Maybe when you're young and you have a family to support, but for us, I forgot the term in that Bishop fatty daddies. For the fatty daddies, we have to force ourselves, even if our health is not proper, or there's no excuse. There's just no excuse. We have to take this medicine. And Prabhupada said, yes, it might be like poison in the beginning, but it's like nectar in the end. So thanks to Prabhupada's mercy, we're starting to, at least me personally, I'm starting to see, yes, this is nectar. This is so nice. Like I look so much forward for these meetings. Why? Because we're going to hear what Prabhupada said. Nobody in here is after any fame or money, or we simply want Prabhupada to be the only medium. We don't need anything else. And we're reading Prabhupada's original books. That's a very important step, as we know that one drop of poison could spoil a whole big pot of milk. When I was in the Mexico City temple, the cook used to put coloring on the halava, and I looked at the bottle, and it had alcohol on it. And I said, Prabhu, this has alcohol. He says, oh yeah, but it's such a, because it was a big pot, huge pot. We used to use a boat row to steer this pot. It was that big. And he said, a few drops. He says, and I go, no. I said, one drop pollutes the whole pot. And this is what we need to understand, that we could not adulterate any pure divya gyan that Prabhupada has given us, that is so rare. And by misfortune, some rascal demons, cats, hogs, dogs, asses, and camels came in that picture and started doing their business. And the result is that the books became adulterated. And this is not a good thing. So our purpose should be to preserve these books, preserve the legacy of Prabhupada 100%, not 99, not 98, no, 100%. And by doing so, we guarantee spiritual advancement. Spiritual advancement is not a thing that just happens because we have a picture of Krishna on the wall, or we chant around here and there, and sometimes we offer food, sometimes we don't. No, that's okay for somebody beginning. But for anybody that is serious, then you have to be very, very strict. And the more that we follow, the more that Prabhupada is pleased, the more that Prabhupada is pleased, the more that we become happy. And we want to share this knowledge with as many people as possible. So we should take every opportunity we have to distribute a book or talk to somebody about Krishna and tell him, yes, you could be happy by chanting Hare Krishna, just like Prabhupada said. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Prabhupada wasn't making this, it's not a fantasy, this is reality. And you could see anybody that has been chanting Hare Krishna nicely, he will be happy. You could not be happy if you chanting 16 rounds and following the principles and associating with the devotees, doing all the sadhana bhakti things that we need to do. One could not be miserable. It could not happen. Hare Krishna.
That's right. The process does work for those who are not offensive. It's very important to note that just like an elephant can enter into the garden and destroy the plant, so devotional service is compared to a garden. And you plant the seed of devotion in the garden, but you have to be careful not to commit offenses. And so it's important for us to every day or regularly read the 10 offenses in chanting Hare Krishna and make sure we meditate on them and be cautious. Sometimes people say that we are fault-finding people that are our godbrothers, but we're not. Just like Prabhupada wasn't fault-finding the Gaudiya Math. He was protecting us from them because they had broken the rules of following the spiritual master after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada's after he passed from this world. And in the same way, ISKCON has become Gaudiya Math Part 2 without a doubt. There is no question of that. Yet some people don't understand that. They think everything is fine. Someone called me from Vancouver. She said to me, she's sick right now. She goes, oh, we should never offend the devotees. We should never criticize them. When we're explaining the facts of the matter after Prabhupada's disappearance, how there was a conspiracy, a secret conspiracy put together by a few senior American devotees to take over Prabhupada's assets, his money, his temples, and his books. That is not fault-finding. That is explaining the truth for the benefit of other people, like you said, so that the milk or the halava is not contaminated by poison. This poison is the improper understanding of Guru Tattva. It is not a joke. It's very serious. We've got Shama Sundar in Australia. Now, I've given him the title, the Samosa King, because every week he cooks 2,000 samosas and distributes them in the marketplace there where he lives. Shama Sundar, do you have any comments or questions you want to bring up today at this Chaitanya Charitamrita reading and discussion? Shama Sundar, can you hear me? I see his picture there. Okay, it doesn't seem like he's available. Dharma Bhavana, maybe he'll come on later. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas.
Hare Krishna. I was going to read about Lord Ichananda just a little bit from one of the bhajans. But first, I thought I'd ask a question that was, because years ago for Ekadasi, it's a very, very important day, Ekadasi. Yes. And all the devotees had a very simple understanding. You just avoid grains and beans. No chapatis, rice, and dal, but you cook all kinds of vegetables and milk products. And it was rather simple. But if anybody could, I looked through the thick letters books of Prabhupada, and I couldn't find anything on Ekadasi anywhere. If anybody could, because somebody somewhere went to Google and it says you can't use lettuce, you can't use a certain kind of spinach or this or that.
No cauliflower.
Or cauliflower. And if anybody could explain that a little better, because I can't imagine why on Google you could find anything from anybody that they. Can anybody mention about that?
Let your show to speak, please.
In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, there are numerous restrictions given for Vaishnavas, specifically for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, with certain types of food, like turnips, eggplants are considered a forbidden food, and onions and garlic and many other chives, that's also not an accepted food. But cauliflower is not in that category. Now, we know that Prabhupada used eggplant. He cooked numerous preparations with eggplant. So my attitude is, if Prabhupada did it, it's authorized. It's as simple as that. Because we're not smarta Brahmins. You know, like even in India, there are certain smarta Brahmins and certain type of Vaishnavas. They will not offer roses to the deities because they claim that these are not native to the land of Bharat Bhumi, the land of India. So that can be quite fanatical on many levels, because there's different kind of flowers and fruits and foods that are mentioned in the Shastras that are considered bona fide. But again, this is Kali Yuga, and we have to use our intelligence and the direction of the acharyas to deal with these issues. I hope it helps.
Okay, further. Go ahead, Dharma Bhavana. You had something to read.
Yeah. This is Sri Sri Gaura Nichandara Daya, the Mercy of Sri Gaura Nityananda. And even though today's the appearance day of Lord Nityananda, a lot of the bhajans are about Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So this one is the one, Parama Karuna Pavantvi Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra. This is a song by Lochandas Thakur. Pahu means Lord, and Dvijana means two. Lochandas Thakur declares that the two lords, Nitai Gaurachandra, Lord Nitai and Lord Chaitanya, are very merciful, Parama Karuna. Sab Avatar Shara Shiromani. Avatar means incarnation, and Sabha means all. They are the essence of all incarnations. The specific significance of these incarnations is that prosecuting their way of self-realization is simply joyful, Kevala Ananda Kanda. For they introduce chanting and dancing. There are many incarnations like Lord Ram and even Krishna who taught Bhagavad Gita, which requires knowledge and understanding. The Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda introduce a process that is simply joyful, simply chant and dance. Therefore, Lochandas requests everyone, Bhajo Bhajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai. My dear brother, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm conviction and faith. Don't think that this chanting and dancing will not lead to the desired goal. It will. It is the assurance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one will get all perfection by this process. Therefore, one must chant with firm faith and conviction. Bisvasa Kori. That's just part of the purport, but I just read something. Thank you, Haribo.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Ron Singh in Sacramento. Maybe you could make a comment on today's class, and whatever you want to bring up would be to our
Well,
pleasure.
Well, we have the whole process given by the acharyas. So Srila Prabhupada is given the books, the audios are there, the videos are there. Like wonderful example that you gave about that devotee who's been reading Srila Prabhupada's original book, is hearing from Srila Prabhupada. So that is a very powerful process because he's taking direct instruction and implementing it in his personal life. So that's the best way for devotees who are new, or specifically, to hear from Srila Prabhupada directly, and then come to the classes if they have some doubts or questions. And in this way, they can progress very speedily, toward the ultimate goal of life, because they're in the right association. So, thank you very much.
That's right. Yeah, the thing is this too. The question of initiation comes up quite a bit with many new people, and as well with so-called senior devotees who don't chant their rounds, who don't follow the regulated principles, who do not practice bhakti yoga, but they're initiated senior devotees in their minds. It's the famous saying, "You're a legend in your own mind," by Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry. Legend in your own mind. So initiation, Yashoda gave nice examples, and he could express that further, of how people would come before Prabhupada and say they're his disciple, but they had long hair, they had no tilak, they had no japa beads, they had no discipline in terms of practicing the principles that Prabhupada was giving, and yet they're going, "I'm your disciple." This is absolutely ridiculous. Because disciple, whether you're practicing bhakti yoga, or you're practicing karate, or you're practicing medicine, you have to listen to what the master is telling you and follow it in order to graduate. It doesn't matter if it's even a material science. You have to do it. Like I try to teach people bass sometimes. When they come to me, I first look at their hands, and they're holding the bass all wrong. I go, okay, stop. Just start over. Hold the bass this way. Hold your fingers that way, and then start to play that way. You have to start them over. A lot of these people that come out of the ISKCON group, they're so confused by the whole experience that a lot of them never recover. That's why we always recommend everyone, be careful. Be very careful who you associate with, because there is a huge hypocritical Sahajiya movement going on in the name of the Sankirtan movement. Yashoda, if you could comment.
This is a very important point. In 1977 in Vrindavan, I was in Prabhupada's room one time where two senior devotees were sitting beside Prabhupada close to his bed. Prabhupada called them very close to him, and he said, "Please do not turn my movement like the Catholic Church or the Gaudiya Math." Now, why would Prabhupada say these things? Because Prabhupada was quite aware of the result of both of these institutions. In other words, spiritual institution or spiritual movement have a certain ideals, basic fundamental ideals or aims and ideals, which are articulated in practice and demonstrated by their founders, by their founder Acharya, whether it's Ramanuja with the Sri Sampradaya, Madhvacharya with the Tattvavadis, Nimbarkacharya within his Sampradaya, Vallabhacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu within our Sampradaya. There are certain basic fundamental aims and ideals which are the basis of these Sampradayas. In ISKCON, Prabhupada gave his books as the basis. when people start to change these books, when people start to tinker with the sanctity of these books in the name of editing or whatever they want to say, then the very basis starts to crack. It's just like if you have a house and you don't have proper gutters and there's a lot of rain, eventually that rain will seep to the foundations and cause trouble. Now, it may not happen in 1 year or 2 years. It may take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but something will happen. Something will happen if you don't take measures to correct that problem. That's why Prabhupada was so careful to instruct the devotees, as it is, no changes. Don't change my books. There are so many instructions from Prabhupada. When Prabhupada found out in 1977 that even during his manifested physical presence, some people had changed his books, his first edition books, he was upset. And he said, they cannot change anything, but some people can't understand. It's simple English. I did not grow up with the English language. I grew up with the French language in Quebec. But I'm not an expert. I'm not a PhD or very educated in grammar. But to me, this is pretty simple. They cannot change anything refers to stop changing. And then when Prabhupada said the next printing again should be the original way, that means return the books back to the first edition. Some people don't accept this. They say, oh, Prabhupada said before, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that in such and such year. No. The last statement of the Acharya always governs. This is the position of Jiva Goswami in the Krishna Sandarbha when he explains there's all the avatars. And then at the end, Vedavyasa in the Bhagavatam says, Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam. This is what we accept. So this changing disease is very dangerous. It's disrespectful to the Acharya, first of all, and it doesn't show great intelligence. But it's all done on the plea of grammatical correctness and editing. Just stop the nonsense. The Madhva Sampradaya has a list of all the origin books of Madhvacharya. They call it Sarva Mula Grantha, the original books, all the original books of Madhva. This is the fundamental basis of their entire system. In our movement, we have Prabhupada's books, but we see that everything's been altered, especially the text of the Bhagavad Gita, which is like our Bible. One of the most important verses has been mutilated from he has seen the truth to they have seen the truth. Anyway, I'll leave it there for now because this is an extensive topics that can go into a lot of ramifications and everything.
Yes, and we're coming to the end of the program. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of it tonight. We had a really good turnout. And we're getting hundreds and hundreds of views of our classes as the weeks go on. We have over 250 classes now on Hare Krishna Society YouTube page. We'll be coming out with a magazine soon, which will be the ISKCON Guru Hoax. That's a draft title for it. And I wanted to mention I'm going to be in Mexico from March 6th to March 20th at Casagoloca. It's a friend of ours from Buffalo, New York, who's bought a wonderful estate there. We're going to be holding Sunday feast programs there on the 10th and 17th. And there are a large group of devotees coming from Mexico City and around that area to join us in Kirtan. Bhagavad Gita class, and that day we'll have Srimad Bhagavatam class being broadcast from there in the morning, and we'll have a wonderful Prasadam feast. So we're looking forward to our visit to Mexico. And I wanted our production manager, if he could bring up our flyer for the invitation, just to show everybody that we want you to get a copy of this artwork and print it in your Prabhu Datta Desha, your local area, and distribute it out to others that you're meeting on the streets, in the garages, wherever you go. It's broadcast, it's advertising our classes, So it explains the whole thing in a nutshell for them. And if you show the second page, brother, the second page has all of the lists of contact information. So this is part of your sadhana program. If you make it a part of your sadhana program, I think you'll find that your spiritual life will become accelerated in its enthusiasm to practice this process through the association of bona fide disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So thank you very much for attending. We're going to carry on with the end of the program, which is the chanting of Hare Krishna by Srila Prabhupada. And we look forward to seeing you on Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Canada and the United States to the Bhagavad Gita as it is reading from the original book and the Srimad Bhagavatam from the early 62 edition. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare